Hello, hello, my name is Troy Ru here,
I'm Tola Hoskins.
and you're listening to our Sick Ass Podcast. Kia ora and welcome to another guest episode of the Sick Ass Podcast. I don't think today's guest needs much of an introduction, but we can just say this. YouTube over 1 million hits, Spotify hundreds of thousands of streams on his song, but I guess the cool thing about this guy is that he's been grinding for years to get to this spot, and there's more than the artist when it comes to talking about people who have that sort of creative talent. So today's guest is Mr. Lani Alo. Lani Alo Music on Instagram. You're also on Twitter and Facebook?
Yeah, man. Facebook, Lani Alo Music on Twitter.
Yep.
On Facebook.
Yep.
And just Mekiki Bruce on Twitter, if you can find it. You're lucky.
And there we go. Man, thank you so much for coming on and giving
kudos.
your time. And like I said in the intro, I get when people get out online and, you know, they get all of this, you know, all of these followers, all of these people streaming all of your stuff, you know, that's kind of the only thing that people see of you. But what I understood about you just from knowing you for the last couple of years is that, you know, there's been a grind getting up to that point.
Yeah.
And, you know, all of your values, all of who you are as a person comes from somewhere. And all of that talent that you have and everything that you do to give you that purpose is from like years and years of coming through that. So, I mean, that's what I kind of want to get at today. Obviously, we will get to that stage of where people know where you are now. Yeah. But, you know, just in terms of your values and in terms of understanding your culture and who you are, you know, where does that all start for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's home, man. It really is home. I mean, there's no other kind of starting place. I'm the youngest of like 3 kids, brought up in Massey in Auckland, out in West Auckland. And yeah, I mean, I'm full Samoan, brought up in a very Samoan household, brought up in the church, the E Whakasa Church in Te Aratu. And that's where everything, to answer this,
Yeah,
put the
for
question
sure.
simply, that's where it started for me, was home. Yeah.
And knowing where you're from and having that strong grounding in who you are, is that something that came from your family or the communities that you had grown up with, obviously as part of your home?
Yeah, like as a New Zealand born Samoan, like I was really fortunate to still, like the New Zealand born ideology thing didn't really come into play until I was old enough to really understand it. So, you know, growing up was just like, oh, I'm Samoan. And everything to do with being Samoan at the time and growing up, and it was just that's just how life went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's that way of being, and, you know, following Fa'a Samoa, and you got to, you know, kind of, that's what you knew. That was your worldview, I guess, going through that. And who was, I mean, everyone's going to kind of play a part in that, but was there anyone in particular that you saw as that lead role in teaching you those values?
I mean, yeah, like you said, everyone, like, you know, everyone played a part. My parents, my siblings, the church, the people that I was surrounded, the elders that I was surrounded by in church, my spiritual parents. In terms of my role as a young Samoan man, young Samoan boy growing into a man, my dad was like the one that really guided me through that. In terms of, my role as a taulealea and the roles that you have to play within the Samoan context and in that cultural space. My dad was really good at guiding me through that, and from there till now, like just what I've learnt from him and my uncles and everyone else that's played a part in that kind of space is, the growth is evident.
Yeah. And I mean, just seeing things on different interviews, you know, you've always been very thankful and you're always very humble in the fact that a lot of this, you know, has been bestowed upon you, but you are very thankful for all of those people who are part of that. In terms of the way that your dad would kind of role model that for you, you know, what type of role model or leader did you see, or like what were the characteristics of your father in giving you those, those values?
My dad he was very like, what's the word? He never spoke much about what he was doing. Like he just got on with it. You know what I mean? He was a silent grinder. Like his, how do I put this? His actions, you know, spoke. Spoke for him. So in terms of like a role as a young taulelea within the church. You know, some of the duties you have to take, you have to kind of do within church.
Absolutely, yeah.
As you know, you have to things like folofolangas, which is when, you know, if someone gifts, if there's like gift giving within a certain context, whether it be a funeral or a wedding, the role of the taulelea or the aumanga of the church is that they have to announce to the public or to the people.
Yeah.
And that's only that's like a job specifically for taulelea. And my dad, I saw my dad do that from when I was a very young age, you know, before he was given a title. And so that's the kind of example. Like I grew up, it's like, oh man, like okay, dad can do that. And then like, you know, in a kind of full circle moment, he taught me that. And then, you know, once I was old enough to learn, I was able to do that myself. And even now, like we're on that level where, you know, we talk about these things like you know, over coffee and stuff. You know, just like we can openly talk about certain aspects of that, you know, that side of the culture, and in a very mature way. But I credit that to him, you know, because he showed that example. So to answer your question, yeah, his actions spoke louder than his words. Yeah. You know, even in the family, he was just a silent grinder that just got on with it.
Yeah, and I see a lot of those values in you. You know, that's someone who you're doing what you're doing for the greater community and for the greater cause of everyone else, but also just, you know, not tooting your horn too much. You want to make sure that you actually do the work first before you get that chance. And now, obviously, someone with a voice like yours and the talent that you have, you could have been, you know, just out there all the time, but you waited that time, and we'll get there shortly. But you also mentioned you were the youngest. Yep. What was your siblings like in that whole upgrowing process?
Yeah, they were all good, eh? Like, I've said this like in a couple of other interview spots and just talking to people. Like I'm very, very blessed. Yeah. As youngest siblings are. You know, the youngest is always has a certain like not advantage, but you get what I mean. Like they're always the luckier one. They get the
a few lessons have been learnt in the first, and
of
then
course.
So
I was lucky that I learnt a lot of lessons off my older siblings, and they taught me a lot, and they set a good example for me too.
Sure.
It was a kind of weird upbringing, because at one point my sister, you know, moved over to Japan. She's the eldest, my sister Rossa. She moved over to Japan to further her teaching career in Japan for a few years. And then my brother went to theological college in Samoa. My brother Nelly, he's the middle child. So there was a time when it was like just me for a bit, and like I had to grow up. But like, that's where I had to really grow up, you know. But I'm grateful for that, because you know, it was time I got to spend with mum and dad, you know, as a young kid. And I learned a bit of independence around that time. And so when they came back, you know, I was still you can't swear on this, but
you can, man.
I was still a little shit, you know what I mean? You know, I was still a little shit, but I had, you know, I learned how to make the coffees by myself and do all that. And so yeah, it was cool, man. You know, I was, you know, siblings, we always have our ups and downs.
For sure.
But that's what makes you stronger, you know what I mean? And so I never say this to them, because, you know, you just want to be like, you got to keep that coolness. But you know, I actually really am grateful for them, because they've set a good example for me. Not only just as like, I mean, in everything, and how to be a parent. My brother, he's the only parent. He's got 3 beautiful kids, like our 2 nephews and 1 niece, and you know, he's shown me how to be a good dad. You know, for when I become a dad, hopefully one day, and my sister's shown me how to be a good educator as a teacher, and just good. That's grateful for them.
Yeah, for sure. And it's enough, like they gave you enough, well, I guess it's all part of the path, right? Is that they gave you enough so that you could also be independent, but then they also gave you that guidance, or enough of it so that you never really became fully dependent by the sounds of things. And you also were at your high school head boy at some point. So, I mean, part of that is because now obviously I know you through, or all I've known you through is basically university. So that's all the life I've ever known. I was like, oh yeah, okay. Most people who get to uni had some sort of schooling background. But was uni ever, like, was it something as you were kind of going through that you were like, yeah, I'm always going to go to uni, or did it kind of come in a little later?
No, I always wanted to go to uni.
Yeah.
And that stems from like my siblings. They both my brother and my sister have been through, university and tertiary education like 2 or 3 times over.
Sure.
And in the time that they've been around, and so I've always had that example, and I like remember going with my sister, like when she was at uni, we would go to Auckland. She was at Auckland,
Yeah.
and we'd go to the computer labs and make it like a night trip, because she would have to go, and I remember she'd have to go and do like assignments and stuff, and then we'd pack like dinner and stuff, and we'd go, and I'd just be there playing on the computers. Like, so those are the things that I remember about like uni life, like the late nighters, and they brought me into that in a really like cool way.
Cool.
Which kind of matured me in a way. So I've always, it's because of them, I always said, I'm going to go to university, and
That's awesome.
I'm going to get my BA, and I'm going to graduate, I'm going to get the cap and stuff. And I mean, even going to their graduations, like them, my cousins, like going to their graduations, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go there one day.
That's cool.
Otago, on the other hand, was like a very new thing, because I was always like, yeah, I'm gonna go to, because when you're a little kid, you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna do what they're gonna do.
Wherever
I'm gonna go to Auckland University. I'm gonna study, and then obviously that's not how life goes. So yeah, the whole Otago thing didn't happen until like I hit year 12 maybe.
Oh right.
Yeah, my music teacher, Mr. David Flyger, at the time, he was one of the music teachers at Massey High School. He had his Otago degrees hanging on the wall.
I see.
Which I didn't think much of it at the time, but when I think about it now, I'm like, man, you're cheeky, eh? It's good promo, because I was like, it was Bachelor of Music, majoring in contemporary performance.
Right.
And I was like, oh, sir, where's Otago? Like, I don't know where Otago is. When I think about Otago, I was like, okay, Otago, Waikato,
Yeah.
And then as soon as I asked him, it was game over, eh? And then, I mean, it was the story pretty much just carried on from there.
That's awesome. And the plan was always to do something with music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So prior to the Otago thing, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Auckland and do a Bachelor of Music.
Okay, right.
And then, but when Otago came into the picture, I just felt like it was the right, it was just the right shift and the right course that I wanted to do, very focused on what I wanted to focus on. And
Yeah. So just with the course, like obviously wherever you ended up doing it, that's kind of depends. That would really change the story. And I guess when we come down to Otago, like I had it, a lot of my friends had it, but it was the first time I'd ever left home. And it was also one of the first times I'd come to a place like Dunedin. And the University of Otago, although, great accolades in terms of research, in terms of the degrees and stuff you get, it's also the most wicked lifestyle you have ever seen. Like, it is nothing. It's like what you see on movies. You just like walk down Castle Street and you see it. How did you adjust to that?
How did I adjust to that? I don't know how to do. I just did. You know what I mean? Because like, you had to,
Absolutely.
Obviously, it was tough, like, being away from home. But in terms of, like, just adjusting to the lifestyle, like, prior to coming down to Dunedin, I had already had, like, a taste of, obviously, in your teen years, you have a taste of that, like, a glimpse into that lifestyle. So coming in, it was just like furthering that lifestyle. But, I've always said this about Otago, that the support network is like crazy good.
Sure.
And not only through the university, but like when I came down, like the older students who were here, really took care of us, really guided us along. And some of those students are still here who are now teaching, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So, I mean, it was really just maybe like the first week, I was like, God, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But after that, it's just moving down that's hard. Getting here is the hardest part. Once you're here, man, everything is just like sorted for you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's how I found it.
Sure.
And I'm lucky I have I have family down here. Like I have my auntie and my uncle and my cousins who I had already known that were down here. So that made the transition much more like comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like most things, it's the anticipation of doing it that is way more like that's where the butterflies are in your stomach and blah blah blah, and then once you get out there, you're like, oh, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
And then you can quickly kind of find where you fit in with different things, and it's nice to always have those support networks. With your study, and I guess this is the first time I kind of got to look at you as well. You did your studies, and then you kind of, you got to learn formally about music, and then obviously the jams come with that as well. So you're learning informally about you as a musician. But then you also kind of got a really cool opportunity with the university, and you were almost that person who would play at nearly every single event, and that's how people got to know you. How did that come about?
Oh man, I think I don't recall. I mean, if we're talking about like the convocation,
yeah.
I think that came through like a Pacific that came through the Pacific Island Centre. Someone higher up had emailed Tofi Lau.
Yeah.
And that's how it went. I can't even. I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. But they got in touch and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come sing." I was like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
And I think it was 2014 maybe the first time I'd done it, and it was crazy, man. It was such a good vibe. You only have time to sing about 3 or 2 songs, and so you have to be real particular. It's the first kind of like the welcome for the new students, and I think I sang like Man in the Mirror or something like that.
You sure did. I saw it. Yeah.
Like Man in the Mirror, and then from there it was just like boom, like like I said, it was really good in terms of setting profile on campus.
Sure.
Not only with the staff but the students, and because of those gigs, I've been able to have like a really good relationship with Professor Harleen, with the Vice Chancellor, and she's always called me back for those gigs ever since. So it was good. I love having those gigs. This year was the first time I wasn't able to do it, which kind of sucks. Yeah. But because I was on tour in Samoa, but hopefully I'll be back next year.
Fingers crossed. When they see this, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we'll get him." But so before we get into this, so the formal stuff, and we can talk about that tour, because you've done a lot in this time. But part of that is that you get to find how it is that you want to be as a musician. Yep. So you had your band, Cookie and the Cream. And then so that came out of like part of your study. And you guys, would do formal assessments together, but then at the same time be able to, like, once the class is over, jam. So, like, just tell us about that, and if that's, like, your favourite part of you finding who you are as a musician. It's
been one of those things that, like, it's been one of those landmark moments about being in Otago as being part of Cookie and the Creams. We got together, our drummer, my Taylor Sizemore, got us together like probably midway through 2013. Yeah. And he was just like, do you guys want to start a covers band? I was like, yeah, cool. Prior to that, in like all of like 2012 and first year, I would, we'd get on the piss, and then what is now Capone.
Right.
Used to be a place called Melbars back in the day.
Oh, okay.
And back in the day even. But nah. So it used to be called Melbars, and there used to be this guy called Matt Gunn who played acoustic every Thursday, Friday. And so, after a few beers, you'd wander in, probably half cut. And I'd be like, bro, can I have a jam? And then like we'd just jam out like 4 or 5 songs. Like, absolutely toasted, and then be like, cool, thanks, bro. Yeah. And then just walk off, and he was like, bro, you should do the covers thing. I was like, yeah. And I would do that like every week for like a good month. Wow. I was like, bro, you should really like consider. And then when the band came along the next year, I was like, hard, let's do it. Like, keen. Yeah. And so we got together. It was myself, our drummer Taylor Sizemore, our guitarist Jacob West, and singer / multi-instrumentalist Miles Max Gunn. And so that was the start of Cookie and the Creams. We used to do like half hour or like hour sets at starters for certain things. And back then we were talking about like an hour set. It was like, oh my gosh, we have to play for an hour. And now it's like, oh god, we only have to play like it's just an hour. But from there we we done those gigs. We played a couple of 21st and stuff, and then we had an audition with Andre Shi,
Right.
who's at the time was the owner of Raba, and who's currently the owner of what is now Vault 21, which was the old Raba. And he came into uni, our band room, for an audition.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, what can you guys play?" And I was like, so we played him songs, and they're like, "Cool, we'll get you on Friday."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo!" And then, like literally from there, like from that time, it's just been game over. Like we've like played at Raba when it was Raba, and then that shut down. Like we played the farewell weekend. The band, because the boys came for uni, so once they had finished their degrees, they left, and then it was just myself and Taylor doing the acoustic thing, and myself and my brother Livy, we're carrying that on now. And yeah, I mean from 2014 really up until now, we've been doing the covers thing, and it really is just it's been a landmark kind of phase about being in Otago, because it's been an opportunity to do the non-assessment stuff, like not have to worry about assessments, still be able to jam, and it's kind of like the gym as well, still be able to like train the voice, especially in those settings when it can get real tough over loud crowds and stuff. So
and it just, I mean, the consistency and being able to continue to perfect that craft, and just like any art form, the more you can do it, and you're also going to see some sort of transition in who you are, and then that's when you're like, oh, I can finally do that now. Were there any moments during upon reflection where you can see like, I've got it now, or like, that's me, that's my sound?
Probably not. I mean, sound wise, like I just had more opportunity to really work with the voice and make, really play with it a bit more than what I was already doing in class and my vocal lessons. I mean, and they encourage that. They encourage you to, try and get out to do gigs and really explore your voice. But for me, it was more little things like range. I was like, oh, like you'd sing a song, and oh my God. I can reach that, or like things like runs. Like, I mean, for those who are tuning in and know what I mean in terms of like vocal runs, I was never one to be like, that was never my thing. But over time, and putting the pressure on yourself to really work that. I mean, I'm still not a vocal runner, both vocally and physically, but we're getting there. Yeah, it's a work in progress. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, just those little things.
So you're tuning the art form, and then so part of, I guess, recently now, so you touched on it a little bit, but you are at Vault, was it every single Friday basically, right?
Every Friday, unless we have like another gig, but we're pretty much booked in. We do Fridays, the Loose and Colourful brothers do Saturdays, and then I'm on the mic with DJ Dowboy from like 11 till closing, just as a hype man, which is another like there's a whole other game in itself.
And just with that, I mean, because I don't go out often, but then I did come because I saw that you were going to be there, and I was just like, this is like, if there was ever a playlist that I was going to have for something like this would be the playlist. But it's like live now, and you're just up there with your guitar most of the times, and then you're just jamming out with a couple of people that you're comfortable with, and you look like you're having fun. And I think that's the part where your creativity starts to show itself a lot more. So just with so you actually, this is where we can get into where we are now, is that you studied and you finished that and you actually went into a master's, but then you needed a little bit of time off. So this is where, like, I mean, it sounds like we were just going like up all the way, but then there are some difficult periods that do come in. And you started your master's, or you were going to go into your master's for it?
Yeah, about to go in, and then this was 2017, because I wrapped up my postgrad dip in 2016, like the study, and then graduated in 2017. Just about to come in, 2017, and then my mom got sick. And I was given the opportunity to work a project back home. So I was like, I'm gonna go home and be with mom. And because my brother was working he's at home, he was working full time, and my sister's in Japan, so it was just the right thing to do, to be home with mum and dad. So that was 2017. Came back in 2018, the same thing, and then had an eye operation because I have keratoconus. For those who are listening in and know what it is, I was just blind from about 2016 up until 2018. I was literally like I could not. I needed someone to walk with me everywhere,
Wow.
just to, because I couldn't see.
Yeah.
I couldn't see. It was very blurry. So I had my operation in 2018, and then recovery. So I've just kind of come back into things as of last year, you know what I mean? And then halfway through last year, we had the track release. I was like, now we're focusing on as my role as an artist. And so that's kind of been the focus a lot over the past year.
Yeah.
Over the past 12, 13 months.
Absolutely. And I think it's, I mean, as horrible as a lot of that stuff is, it's also what I liked about how you just went through that is that you would briefly touch on it and then bring in the positive straight after, and briefly touch on it and then bring in a positive. You got to go home, you got to go through proper recovery for a lot of things, you got to reflect on what's happening, and you just saw that, these things will happen in time. Eventually that stuff can happen. And you talked about the track release, and when that did come out, what was your initial thoughts with the releasing of it compared to when it did blow up and you're just like, goodness, was that something you were anticipating or?
Excuse me.
You're fine.
The team and I, when we were working on the release, because we had started work on it from probably about, we got maybe about March last year. Yeah. March, and so it was from there, March to August, we had kind of piecing everything together, and we always knew that it would reach people. Just because of the messages of the song.
Absolutely.
And even the concept behind the video, we're like, man, people are really going to feel this. But no, I've said this so many times, no one can really ever anticipate that much of a response. No one's, in the first day, it was almost immediate. We're like, okay, release day. And then straight away in the first day, we had clocked in 100K views, on Facebook alone. Or something or across the, and it was just, what?
Yeah, yeah.
As much as we knew it would, we wanted it to go places, and we knew it was going to reach, places to a certain extent. Not like that, man. Yeah. Not like how, even now, it's just like, what? But we're grateful. We're very, we always look at it as, as a very, it was cool. It was cool that it happened, but, never in a space to be like, oh yeah, we done that. We're just glad that people have received it and they like it, and we're glad that we've seen, people respond back and say that it's really shifted, made a change in their lives in some form or shape, and that's the payoff, man. That's that's how it's more than just it transcends the art, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? It's more than just the song and the video. It's people's livelihoods, people's culture, people's spirit and who they are. And so,
it's almost like it fulfills the purpose of why we do everything that we do.
Oh yeah.
Because that was the first time when I reached out to you to see if you wanted to come on. I just rewatched the video, and every time I watch it, I can't understand anything that's going on, but you don't need to in terms of you can feel what's going on. And I remember watching it, and I remembered I went through my entire transition, coming back down to Dunedin, and it just you can't help but watch it and get teary. It's just one of those things where it's such a beautiful thing. And that's just where, whether it does well or not, if you can touch those different people, that's almost like the purpose of why you're a creator, right? And that purpose there. So I guess going forward and where you are now, you're super humble about it. Like I said in the intro, this is over 1 million views on YouTube. We're probably approaching 2 mil by Christmas, and hundreds of thousands, I think over 300,000 streams on Spotify. But then also, how is it that you remain just, that's me? I'm just, okay. move on and just continue, like you're happy with the process and how it went, but never let it get to you?
I learned at a real young age, like the price of like being like a really young age, and it's probably like a really silly thing, but I don't even remember what it was, but I remember the feeling of being like cocky or being big-headed about something really, something that happened at school or church, and I got shut down real fast.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I never want to feel that again.
Yeah.
Because and there was a lesson. I mean, I can't even remember how old I was. I legit was not even 10 at the time. But I remember that feeling of like being, that's not a nice feeling. You shouldn't be like that. And so that's part of the reason why I'm never kind of settled on, okay, like, yo, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, we're at the top, man. I've come to realize that you'll never really be at the top. That's not for you to dictate, you know what I mean? That can be argued. But
Sure.
to me, it's like it's an ongoing thing. You'll always have a place to reach, or you always have a place to go.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about being at the top, like mountain level wise.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more just about there's always another place to move to.
Absolutely.
Like people talk about levels. I try not to talk about levels as such.
Sure.
I like to just consider it like, if I'm here, I'm moving to this place. Because if I talk about levels, like, okay, I'm going here, like this is where I want to be, but like disregarding what's come before.
Sure.
So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to move into this place. I'm moving into different platforms. But in terms of levels, no, I don't think it's a levels thing or going up, and it's a constant moving thing. And to me, you'll always find somewhere to grow. Yeah. Wherever you move. So that's why I'm never really settled on, I mean, this is great where we're at now, but there's always going to be something new to learn. There's always going to be like a new secret to the songwriting or the craft that we need to unlock. And that's what keeps me hungry to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And part of that is, that process of sharing, and you got to tour with it. So go around but that also had a little bit of, you had some turmoil, or not turmoil, but like in terms of timing, trying to get that all going. But then, I think everything kind of plays out the way it does for a reason. So how did that kind of what was it meant to be like, and then how did it end up playing out?
Well, when the song came out in August, I think I had reached out. It might have been October last year, a year ago. I reached out to Samoa Airways, and this is at the time when measles had just started kicking in, and everything that was going on, with the measles recovery. And I just said, look, I want to come home. I approached Samoa Airways and look, just had this song. Actually, no, the surprise of the measles, before the measles, this is October, and I said, look, I want to come home and say thank you to Samoa. Yeah. I want to come, the response, and this time has been amazing. And this is my way of saying thank you. So if you can bring me home, I'll do whatever, like press or promo, whatever needs to be done. But I think it'll be a great, thing for Samoa. And then the measles kicked in, and they're like, okay, we might have to put this off. We're keen, but we have to put this off. And so the original plan was to be in Samoa around Christmas and do the whole Christmas thing. That didn't happen. I was like, oh man. But then just after New Year's this year, at the start of this year, they reached out again and they said, look, the state of emergency is lifted, and do you still want to come over and do that? And I was like, yeah, keen. But it was like, yeah, keen. But we've only got like 2 weeks to put everything together. Yeah. I had like no money, because I was just set that okay, it wasn't gonna happen. Yeah. Had no money, like hadn't planned, and so I reached out to some of my mentors, my good friend Alpha Mayava, who's like an old hat in the Samoan and Aotearoa music scene, and I was like, bro, we got to plan a tour. He was like, what are you doing? He's like, we got to plan a tour in like 2 weeks. I'm going to Samoa on this date. And he was just like, you crazy son of a... but we done it. I mean, like God provided. And even when I got on the plane, I think I got on the plane with like, maybe like $200-300 or something. But Alpha was just like, bro, whatever you have when you get on that plane, like, whatever comes, that's God saying to you, like, He's got you, like that will be your provision. Like, and I was really fortunate when I got to Samoa, thanks to the team at DRM. If you know, you know. They had just sent through like my first report of royalties from, since release, and that like covered the tour, and I was like, man. Yeah. But the 2 weeks of stress up to that point was, and it turned out awesome. We got to visit schools over there, and so we shaped it. It was like a back to schools tour, trying to boost morale, post the measles epidemic, and it was awesome, man. Just to see the kids like, just, it's that Alo, your faiva guy, me and Livy walk in and they'd be like, it was something else, man. It was really a moment to treasure, like, and really cherish. It was amazing.
For sure, and it's one of those things where your people are always like, you can impress so many different people, but once you can see that you are making such a huge impact on your own people, it's one of the most fulfilling feelings. And so I'm guessing they received the song really well, and you too really well.
It was, I mean, in terms of like just that whole idea about being received by your own people, I'm a big believer. If you can't conquer your own backyard, you can't conquer the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can travel everywhere and do your thing, but if you haven't got your hood like behind you, like, and your people, it's gonna be real hard to, you can't. I mean, you can, but what I believe is that if you can't conquer your hood, man, you can't conquer anywhere else. You got to conquer home first. Yeah. And that's, I mean, in the most respectful way, I feel like that's what we've been able to do through the song. And just going over and seeing the people and the kids, and even like our villages, like me and Livy and our villages back home, like the reception. Like, we went to my village in Samoa. That was where we finished the tour for our last day, and like the village. Like all the village chiefs came to where my family was hosting, our arrival, and like put on like they welcomed us with the ava ceremony. Sure. Which was huge, man, because I was like, here's me in my mind, like, who am I? Like, who are you to, because you don't want to put them through any trouble or anything. Right. Like, to me, that's like, oh man, you don't have to. But absolutely. That was their way of like just showing their love and their respect, and that was huge, man. And it's that kind of stuff, man, that really just makes it like, home.
I mean, like, views, streams, all of that sort of stuff, but like that's it right there. Yeah. Regardless of all of that stuff. And I think with that, when you're talking about the hoods, and we were talking about, just because you've got to that status where you've moved outside your own friend circle and outside your friend's friend circle in terms of who's viewing these things, we had this conversation before. We were talking about, you do get people who have negative things to say with that, but if your hood's got your back, they then jump onto that. Has that been something that you've witnessed during this time?
Not too much, man. And I know there's more to come. That's just the nature of it. And people, I've been like you said, being real fortunate that when some, like, even stuff like dislikes, like, oh my God, there's 200 people who dislike this video. Like, what are you thinking? Like, this is people I don't even know, you know, but it's, I mean, that's just the nature of having a fan base, or like, having a support base and people who are following you. And it's I know it's just part of it, and I just deal with it as it comes. But I'm not one to like really invest my time and energy into that kind of thing. Yeah, because there's just no time and there's not enough energy for it.
For sure. Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that you're doing, like the music that you're putting out, and you even jamming, is probably something that calms you down quite a bit anyway, because you're loving the process of everything. So all that is just, little stuff. Yeah. So like now, like, guys, moving beyond you as an artist, you'll always be the artist, but what I like about your vision for everything is that you're also trying to upskill communities and people who are creatives in that. So do you want to tell us a little bit about Brown Bruce Creative and what their idea with getting this together will be, and hopefully like the long-term plan with that?
Yeah, man. So like Brown Bruce Creative was, the Brown Bruce Creative brand was something that I originally started because I have like a love for photography. Like I love like capturing like stills and the stories of that time. So before it was Brown Bruce Creative, it was Brown Bruce Photography. Brown Bruce I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I don't think I've ever told anyone out of this. So, this thing is the first kind of glimpse. But I'm a like a huge, both Levy and I, my brother Levy, we're both like Springsteen, like hardcore. And I always thought, it was a shower thought.
Yeah.
It was a shower thought one day. I was like, man, if I was to not be Lani Alo, what would I like? What would I like to be like? I'd love to be like the Brown Bruce.
Yeah.
Brown Bruce, the Brown Bruce, like, you know, and so, I kind of just went with it, Brown Bruce, and, you know, it was, started off as photography. I had like a page, and then, I met, you know, a couple of good friends, over the past couple of years through uni. One of whom is Sa me Lani Alo, who wrote the screenplay for the Alo Your Faiva video. And so we worked on that, and we worked on a couple of other smaller projects like prior to Alo Your Faiva. But really it's just at the beginning it was just, you know, getting together and just getting our creative juices working on certain things. But the big kind of picture, the bigger picture and the bigger plan for the Brown Bruce brand is for it to be like, you know, the next Heartbeat Productions or the next Tyler Perry Studios kind of vibe. Brown Bruce Creative being the umbrella, but having the you know, the subsections of Brown Bruce Photography, Brown Bruce Film, you know, Brown Bruce Fashion, and the hope that one day, you know, it can be like a legit, like a big production company where we don't have to outsource any work. Like the work is everything's in-house, like the production, the fashion, the catering, the security, the traveling, everything, you know. So if you jump on as like our newest, you know, top podcaster, you know, we're going to be like, okay, Brown Bruce Fashion, like we need to deck him out or something, you know, work him out. Catering, you suss out the launch, and we've got security, we've got media, we've got marketing, management. So that's the big idea. Is that, I mean, it's still a while away. Sure. But that's the bigger goal, is to have Brown Bruce Creative be like the big like creative powerhouse that can manage itself in-house without having to outsource a lot of work. And in turn providing, you know, opportunities for people to, you know, who want to work in these creative sectors such as fashion and whatnot, but still have like connection to home, like being, you know, it being like a Pacific creative brand that can not only work in the Pacific space but work in, you know, the wider corporate space and creative sectors. Yeah. That's the goal, man.
No, that's cool, man.
That's the goal.
I think the cool thing about it is, like you said, it's the capacity building of a lot of other people who are coming up. And then, like you said, with, you know, seeing what your father was doing, seeing what your older siblings were doing, it gives role models to a lot of the other people coming up. Yeah. And I guess when you don't have to outsource as much, the good thing is that the creative part is based on what you want to do. Yeah. Like you're not having to, you know, try to fulfill different things. So just are you on a label or anything, or are you independent?
Independent, man. Yeah. Independent, but I mean independent in the sense that I'm not signed to anyone. Sure. But in terms of like how I'm operating, like I'm really, really fortunate that I've got like a massive network of people that I can tap into, who like have like who share so much love. Like, you know, people who are in film production or in photography or music law. You know, there's a massive network of people that support what I do. Yeah. And so as much as I'm independent in terms of not being signed, but you know, these are my advisors as such. You know, I can tap into them and they'll happily help me out. I'm gonna have to start paying them soon, when I am able to. But yeah. I mean, just I'm really lucky that I have a whole lot of advisors. So in that sense, I've got that backing. But
that's cool.
label-wise, nah, it's just Lani Alo Music is the brand.
I think that the support that you have is really testament to your character. The fact that you don't expect anything from anyone, but you are looking for every opportunity to, make people better, in whatever way it is. So you did receive quite a few awards at the Pacific Music Awards, and now we were talking about this before. I'm not sure how much of the process you can discuss, but so I was watching your stories, and then I was like, oh, sweet, he's finished. Okay, he's flying home. And then I saw you fly. And then I was like, wait, hold on.
Oh,
and then and I was like, wait a second. He's on stage. What's going on here?
He's on telly in Auckland. What's going on?
Congratulations for all the different awards that you had. But, that must be a weird feeling because it's almost like you have to embargo and act like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then you get back down here. So how was that? Was it like a 3-day period where you had to keep it to yourself?
Yeah. So we, So we had filming on the Wednesday. So we filmed Wednesday afternoon. We filmed our performance.
Yeah,
because we were really lucky to be able to perform at the awards. And then Wednesday evening, we filmed the filming of the ceremony. I don't even know if it's out anyway. So.
Yeah, it's out now.
But yeah, so it was a really interesting evening, because we rocked up and the whole time we thought, okay, all the finalists are going to be there, and then we rock up and there's probably only like 60 of us that are in the foyer, and they've got food and drink and DJ and stuff, and so we were just chilling there, and I'm looking around like, I don't see all the finalists, this is really weird. And then they the organizing team walk out and say, look, we're going to call you in one by one to come and and film your part. I was like, okay, cool. And then probably after the first 2 awards, you're like, I see what's going on. And then I got called in, and I was like, oh shoot, I called in, and then Patrina, who's kind of who runs the producer of the PMAs, she's really lovely. She just comes up and she's like, okay, Lani, so we're just about to present the Best Pacific Gospel Artist Award, and you've got to. And I'm just like, what? It's so weird because and she's like, okay, just think about what you're gonna say. Congratulations, right. Really, and so it's a lot to take in because you're like, okay, yay, but yay, and then you have So we go side of stage and film the thank yous. So the 20 people that are the film crew in the space, because there was no audience, but I mean, that was that, and then that's how the night went. Wow. And then the next time we got called in for our last award, it's just like, okay, here we go. And because this time I had to bring Livian with me. I had to bring Livian, and he was like, no, you go. I was like, no, you have to come. You kind of have to come this time because we're both. He was like, what do you mean we're both? I was like, we're getting the. He was like, and then so he went through that moment too. He was like, oh wow. So we started stage, okay, you say thank you to blah blah blah, and I say thank you to you say, okay, cool. But it's such a weird thing because it's not your normal. It's not the norm, you know. And so we found out what we had won that night. We went home with the awards and everything, showed our parents, but we're like, no one is to say anything. You have to keep your mouth shut until Saturday. And it was really, I mean, after Thursday, it was kind of like, oh yeah, cool. Happy. But then we had to conduct we had to do media interviews, so obviously they filmed on Saturday and then they screened on Saturday and screened it on Sunday morning. I had done 2 interviews prior to that, and they were both just have to. Okay, obviously we're talking as if this is Sunday morning, and I was like, bro. This is so weird, but it's a small compromise. It's part of the job,
Sure.
But it was funny, man. It was funny because people were like, we told our group of friends down here on the night of the awards. We messaged them and look, because they knew we were filming and we'd find out. And we said, look, we didn't get any, we were very unfortunate that we didn't get anything this time, but we did perform. Obviously you guys know we're performing, so let's get together on Saturday night. We'll just watch the show and have dinner. Everyone will have a potluck dinner, and we'll just just enjoy the night. Just want to say thank you for your support. And they were just losing their shit, man. They were like, what are you doing? The first award came, and I walked into the room, and waited for them to announce. They were going crazy, and I walked out with the award, and they're like, "You," they're just like, "What the fuck?" Like, and then that was like, "You guys, like, why did you lie to us?" "Oh, no, that's it. Trust me, it's just the one award." And then we done it again, but this time we just sat there, and they were like, "Oh!" But it was our like way of surprising them. And I mean, but it's the good memories, bro. Like, it's just part of the job. Part of the whole experience, especially with COVID. We had to keep our mouth shut, and we had a bit of fun on the way. So,
No, it's an awesome story, and I think for a lot of people who don't know how the behind the scenes go, because I was just sitting there just being like, "Oh yeah, that would be weird." It's like, because you would have gone through like, "Are you gonna win? Okay, yep, congratulations. Just get it over there." So you like probably on the side, just like, should I act surprised? Should I just like, "Oh yeah, I'm happy"?
Yeah.
What was your initial thought?
Oh, I was just like, because we went in and had no intention of coming up with anything. Like, and that shows, because you can tell in our speeches, we're kind of just like, we're kind of saying what it's really. I mean, we got there in the end, but for us critiquing, is like, man, you forgot to say thank you to, and that shows, because we forgot people. So we just kind of, I mean, for us, it was just like, okay, just act relaxed and try not to, and because we were already in the foyer, we were probably a few beers down, and so it was really hot. It was really hot, and they were like, "Oh man," but yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things. Probably the funniest thing was, we didn't get any like double, second takes on our speeches. But like the presenters, they're like, if they stuffed up our names,
Sure.
They're like, okay, no, we do it again, and you're just like, let's just get this over and done with, man. But I mean, that was a funny part. But like I said, due to the nature of the times, it was the road we had to go down.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it was cool.
Yeah,
we had to wait a long time, and I kind of got not over the awards, but I was just like, just get it over and done with.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we ended up doing how it came out, and
and hopefully many more after that point, in terms of like going through that process and seeing what it's like when you can actually be in front of a crowd, when it's live once, and all of that sort of stuff, and you can start to meet other artists in the area as well, and seeing how that's going. So just the final little bit for you, just to put it out there. So before we get into our final question that we ask all our guests, your one for, obviously you are still an up-and-coming artist, like you're someone who's still trying to, continue to be your best, and I think most people should be in that spot. But, I think if anyone has listened all the way up to this point, you just realize this wasn't one day you're just I'm gonna put this on YouTube, I've blown up. This is years and years and years of dedication to your craft, and, trying to make it work for you. So for people coming up and hearing this and thinking, this could be a potential avenue for them, what would you tell those people?
I would say exactly that. Like, really take time to refine your craft. And I don't say that lightly, because I know. Refine your craft. Really take the time to invest and refine in your craft, and allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's one thing to refine your craft. It's another thing to allow yourself to be critiqued, and to know how to process certain. You only take in what you take in. You know what I mean? And so if when taking in certain critiques and certain things that need comments or things that need to be worked on, like, just know how to process that, and you'll know to build a tough skin. It's not always easy, but refine your craft. Really get the right people around you, and people say it all the time, man, but it's so true. Like, get the right people around you, because you will be a reflection of them. And I mean, I wish I could say like I was a full reflection of the awesome people that are around me, but like, it's a work in progress. Like, I'm nowhere near I want to be like them. I'm nowhere near that, but really have the solid team around you, and I think go in knowing that if you go in like into like a certain space, or like when you get to a certain part of your career, because you will grow in your career for those who are, wanting to get into it. The moment you walk in and knowing that you're the expert, it's probably time to just like find another space or like get out of the area, because if you're the most influential person in the room, find another room. Sure. Yeah, so that's the same goes like for being, in terms of growing. If you're like if you're the most like talented person in the room, you've got no business being there, right? And so that's something I'd encourage, really try and encourage those who are coming up, or are moving into this artistic space, or wanting to be an artist. Like, it's more than just going viral. You know what I mean? It's more than just like just dropping a video, and it's hard work. It's really allowing yourself to grind and be grinded in terms of critique and stuff. So
absolutely.
There's much more to it, but that's
the key concepts, the principles that people should be doing is be willing to work, be willing to be worked, and be willing to kind of make yourself uncomfortable and push yourself a little bit in that. So in terms of you and being able to balance everything that you're doing, but also keeping yourself creative, the one question we ask everyone is, what's something that you do daily or close to daily that helps you feel like you are optimizing your day?
Oh God, that's a good question. Waking up, and I mean that, man, because like I like, if I can, I know it sounds real simple, but this is for where I'm at right now in my life, in this time and place, because my timetable is so like it's so all over the place, especially with gigs and stuff. Like a lot of it's a 50-50 like up and go, and 50-50 like just full on rest. Wow. And so if I've like over rested, because it'll just be like, okay, you need to get your ass up. Like, okay, that's enough rest. So for me, it's just about getting up, and there's always work to do. So if I've like today, just things like sending invoices out. Like I know, like today I had to do those invoices, and I had to send those emails. So for me, it's just in terms of the music and the vision and the goal. Like if I can just do one or two things, in this time, one or two things to kind of get the ball rolling that I need to do. Like this is what I want to do today. That's it. Get my 1-2s out of like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like I need to want to. And that's done. Then everything else that comes through is a bonus. Is a bonus in a day. Like, but for me, it's like waking up. Because over-resting is a thing, ladies and gentlemen. It can happen. But for me, it's like just getting up and getting at it.
I think it's such cool advice to hear from someone who, for most people who will see you as that artist, someone who got there, you must be doing all of these different things, but it comes back to the key principles of everything is just that you need to do a little bit all the time, rather than trying to do everything and then burning yourself out and then not doing anything enough.
And for me, it's like doing the thing, like I said, like there's, you wake up every day and you have a list of what you want to do and what you need to do. Like get those out of the way. Like these are the must-dos. And as long as I've got those out of the way, happy days. Everything that comes out is like cool. But it's everything works together and like building towards what needs to be done in the journey. So for me, it's like, okay, wake up. This is what. Okay, I've got to go to this. I've got to go to this meeting. I want to, like, I have to, but I want to, you know what I mean? So, like, I need to send those invoices. I want to send those invoices. I have to make these certain contacts happen. So, minute or not, it's not really how small the task is, but just like, how you complete it and how you get out of it, what you get out of it, and how you do it. So,
man, that has been an unreal chat. Thank you so much, Lani, for your time.
2 hours later. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But,
thank you so much for your time, man. Like, I really appreciate that. And I all of the stories, I think, resonate with people, whether you're trying to, you know, make it in the music or make it in some sort of creative scene or just be a better person or do, you know, go through uni, all of those different things. The principles are still the same. We need to stay humble, remember where we're from, continue to work away at things and always try to be better so that we can help everyone around us and bring those people up. So Lani, thank you so much for your time. He will be tagged on the description, so everything you can get at him there. But other than that, thank you so much, brother.
My guy, thank you.